to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode 105. You're joining myself, Chris, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, folks, to another great episode of the podcast. This week, we've got a great show lined up for you, talking about new games getting dates on Stadia, some games that apparently are nowhere to be seen and we'll never speak or hear of them ever again, certain updates coming to the platform, along with some exciting news regarding our own charity streams. Very exciting stuff, Richie. Of course, if you're new to the channel and you're new to the show, don't forget this is your weekly Stadia podcast where we round up all of the gaming and Stadia news. What was that noise?
I accidentally played the trailer.
Alright, okay. It sounded like something fell over. Anyway, yes, we bring you all of the Stadia and gaming news very professionally, of course, with no interruptions or distractions along the way. We also bring you live streams, let's plays, and first look. So we'd appreciate it if you would give the video a like down below, click subscribe, and hit that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of the Stadia content we bring you here, right fresh and ready, Richie, right from the cloud. That's where we get it from. We tap it, we get it like maple syrup. Not that it comes out as syrup, fresh from the tree. That's what we do.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
It's a bit of a crazy one today, I feel like. I don't know why. I'm in a bit of a zany mood. Just like I've never really used the word zany in quite some time. It's just one of those days. Of course, folks, we love Stadia here. We always talk about Stadia, and we've done 105 episodes. We've done lots of side quest episodes, and we can't wait. We're actually celebrating in the next few days, on the Saturday, the 2nd of October, in fact, our 2nd year anniversary. I do actually feel, Richie, like we've done a lot of celebration streams recently.
Well, yeah, because we had our 2nd year anniversary. Well, that's coming up, and then we had our 100 episodes of the podcast celebration.
I feel like we've done another one. I don't know why. Did we celebrate something else?
I don't think so.
It just feels like we've done a lot of like content recently. I don't know why, but either way, yes. Next Saturday, folks, the 2nd of October, myself, Richie, and maybe some special guests are streaming Stadia all day long. All day long. We want to celebrate 2 years of our channel, 2 years of your amazing and wonderful support, and more importantly, we want to play games with you, the community. So we've got tons of giveaways, tons of prizes. We've got game codes from our wonderful friends over at various developers and publishers. But more importantly, we wanted to give back to our communities, and we're doing it this year a little bit differently. We're doing it in the interest of raising money, fundraising for a very special charity, the Alzheimer's Society over here in the UK, raising much needed funds and support to find a cure for both Alzheimer's and dementia, in fact. It impacts most people. I think it's 1 in 4, and currently in the UK alone, Richie, 850,000 people currently suffer from Alzheimer's or dementias in some way, shape or form. It's like we said on multiple streams leading up to this particular live stream, affects more families than I think people would care to admit as well, in many shapes or forms. It's a horrible, debilitating, that's the right word, right?
Yeah, it's debilitating.
Illness, yeah, and you basically, it's hopefully no one has to experience it in their lifetime as well. But we're hoping to raise some money. We've already raised a lot of money, in fact, well over £200, thanks to our friends at Liquid Bit Games, developers of the Killer Queen Black title. They generously donated over $200 to kickstart our campaign. So if you'd like to donate now ahead of the kickoff event, just head over to justgiving.com/Helix Cloud Games. You'll see the page there. You'll see a brief description. And donate anything you want. And to give you something a little bit back as well, anyone who donates, they'll be flung in the hat for some giveaway prizes. We have a Google Nest Mini, the new edition. I've actually got it right here, Richie. It arrived, ta-da, in a lovely shade of blue, which I know many people might not have the blue version. So anyone in the UK, look, 2nd generation, just to confirm. Don't know why I'm holding that up to there. 2nd generation.
I've got one that's like a dark grey.
I've got one that's dark grey. I usually use it as a coaster, I think, somewhere. Either way, I've got so many. I don't have the cable. Yeah, upside down it works as a coaster. Either way, we're giving away one of these. We've also, like I said, got many codes for a couple of games. We've actually got some Steam codes as well. We reached out to a couple of devs. They don't have codes for Stadia, apparently, to give away, which seems surprising, but also not surprising at the same time. But do join us next week. We'll be kickstarting the event on... I've actually got the schedule here. I'll pull that up. We're kickstarting the event at 11 a.m. UK time. So if you're over there in the States, bit of an early start for you, but we still appreciate you stopping by. With an episode of the podcast live. So if you have questions for the show, we're going to be doing the show in a special way. We've actually got pro games to talk about, Richie. It's actually quite lined up quite nicely. We'll have all the October pro games to discuss as the podcast is 2 days into the month. We're then going to be doing some just questions and general chit-chat with the amazing chat out there as well, because we often know recording this podcast ahead of time, we don't get that interaction that we'd love from a live show, but our personal lives don't really dictate a live show, so we get a bit of an opportunity to chat with you folks. Then we'll be going into some games, Coating, Cake Bash, Fogs even, and Get Packed. We're then going to be showcasing Sounds of Stadia Side Quest, our topical side quest show. And aside from that, we've actually got a little special tease for SideQuest, Richie, which we're going to keep secret until next week. So definitely tune in for that one. It's very, very special. We're excited to reveal it. Then we're going to be playing FIFA 22. Brand new. Game will have only been out a few days, so hopefully we can get on the sticks, Richie. You're going to be coming around my house, so our lovely audience out there are going to be able to challenge us, see how well we do at this new iteration with hypermotion technology, next gen. We're then going to kill some people in Hitman.
We're going to be terrible.
Most likely, yeah. Bring it on. Challenge accepted. Then we're going to be playing Hitman, trying to kill some people, kill some bugs in Killer Queen Black, grid with the community. We've got a lovely Stadia game of what we've dubbed a Stadia Scope, where you guess the Stadia artwork. Every time it zooms in, you get less points. You get more points if you guess even earlier. We're going to have a first look at one of your October Pro games. Then we're going to play some Siege with the community as we go into... Sounds of Stadia, said it, Richie, did it. Helix Cloud Games Celebration 2021. After hours, which is where me and Richie attempt to stay up as late as possible with you people. Hopefully our viewers stateside will get a bit of an opportunity to play some games. If the podcast at the beginning of the day is too much for you, totally understand it. But do drop by for the late night event, which is more your time, US folks. And if, like me and Richie, usually stay up late on a weekend anyway, we'll be there Saturday night with some beers and games in hand on Stadia. So we do hope you'll stop by. Again, we are celebrating, but it is for a good cause as well. JustGiving.com/Helix Cloud Games. Donate to the Alzheimer's Society and help raise money to find a cure for Alzheimer's and dementia sufferers out there. Right. Now we've got that out of the way, Richie. We can relax a little bit. We can start getting into the show. But we should also point out this last week we played the finale of Life is Strange True Colours.
We did indeed.
And I kind of just want to kick things off with getting your final thoughts on... No spoilers, of course, still. You should go check it out. Final thoughts on True Colours, Richie. We finished it, all 5 chapters. What did you think?
It's a game I think I need to go back and replay on my own to get more out of. I feel like there's some stuff in chapters 4 and 5 that happen fairly quick, but I'm guessing now with the knowledge of the big twists that happen throughout the narrative, I'll be able to pick up more as I'm exploring the town a bit. So I think I definitely think there's another playthrough in there for me personally, which was always part of the plan, because again, when I was playing it on stream, I was quite vocal by saying I wasn't reading every text, reading every message you get through the weird app thing. I weren't doing a full explore of everything, which is what I would typically do in a game like that. We were just trying to hit the major story beats. Yeah,
get to the mainline it, as some people will say. In summary, then, what would you if you? I don't want you to put a score on the game because I don't believe putting an actual number on things is really great. But would you recommend this title to anybody else?
Yeah, if you're a fan of the Life is Strange series, definitely worth playing. If you like things like the sort of Telltale, that sort of narrative adventures, definitely worth playing. It's one of them. If you like a good story in the game, you're gonna enjoy this. But if you're someone who's has to be gameplay, it's probably just not the sort of game for you. I think you kind of know if it's going to be a game, if it's a style of game that you're going to be into or not. And the story, I think, is actually very good, and the characters are as good as any other Life is Strange. So
yeah, I would agree with that. I think I approach these games as someone, if you're into like your action adventure games or your shooters and stuff like that, I always feel like the Telltale games and the Life is Strange series, they're a good palate cleanser because it doesn't require much like hands-on action. So if you are just wrapping up on like 130 hours of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or you're going back into the Division for your weekly raids and stuff like that, I honestly think if you're in between games, Life is Strange is a terrific one to just sit down, enjoy a story, almost like a TV show. And like, ironically enough, it does come in chapters, and the old games were literally released in an episodic format. Yeah, sitting down with this and just slowly meandering your way from beat to beat, character to character, I think it's good for kind of just relaxing a little bit, like a good book almost.
Yeah. We haven't really talked much about the format of the release, but I think for me it's perfect how a game of this style should be released. It is broke up into discrete chapters, so you don't have that moment where you're like, oh, just do one more quest,
Yeah.
which then you're going to bed at 11 o'clock till like 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes, because you're collecting feathers in Assassin's Creed or something.
Oh yes.
It doesn't have that sort of moment. You have these discrete endpoints where you can just go, okay, that's the chapter done. I'll come back and do chapter 2 tomorrow. And do chapter 3 the day after. So it's a good one, I think, actually spread across like a work week. Yeah. If you only have a couple of hours in an evening to play. But they also released the entire story together. So there wasn't the whole, like, I think with Life is Strange 2, it was like about a year it took, or maybe even longer, just to release the full experience.
Yeah,
which I think is one of the reasons that game kind of slipped a bit.
Yeah, it definitely, for me, it's and I think that's the reason I never played Life is Strange 2, because I was excited to hear it announced. Episode 1 was released. I think maybe did they release episode 1 and 2 together, almost like a double bill kind of setup. But naturally, when that came out, I just told myself I'll wait till the whole thing's finished. I don't have time to. I don't want to play something and then have to wait several months. So I think I just waited, and then unfortunately, to their detriment, I waited so long for the final episode to come out. I was over it. I'd moved on. I wanted to play other things, and that's the risk you take, because unlike television, that's like got the weekly schedule. Every week you come back for a new episode, everyone's talking about it. With video games, if the second part doesn't come out until 3 months later, my friends who are also playing it might not be playing it at the same time, so you miss that kind of water cooler discussional moment. Like, you and me chat about games all week long, but it's usually because we're playing the same stuff. That's the conversation we want to have.
Yeah, I need to go back. I've been going back and playing through all the Life is Strange series. So I have played 1, I have played Before the Storm, and True Colours I need to start again. I started playing 2. I got about halfway through episode 1, and then I had to go to do something else, and I haven't went back to it. I don't know what it is about 2. It just doesn't seem to get its hooks in me in the same way. I do want to play it to completion though.
Right, just so you can.
Maybe just a case of I need to push past the first few chapters before the narrative really picks up.
Well, we actually found out in the True Colours version that the kind of middle chapter was a bit like meandering. It didn't really progress the story that much, but then it brought it back around in the end.
It was a really fun episode to play, but when you got to the end, it's like, I'm not sure how much the story's progressed there.
Yeah, it's very much like a side story to the main narrative. But either way, I would definitely recommend this game to you guys out there who are listeners and viewers. If you are looking for that palate cleanser, I think just to echo what Richie said, great characters, great story, not fast action gameplay, so it's a more enjoyable pace to play through. If you are out there, I know a lot of our viewers and listeners have like children and parents and busy schedules, so if you do want something that's just going to be 2 hours of your time at a beat, I think each chapter's probably about less than 2 hours, Richie, I'd say, easily.
Yeah, I think it depends on your style of play. I think you can go between probably 2 to 4 hours for each chapter, depending how nitty gritty you go. We got through chapters 4 and 5 at quite a pace, where I do think we could have eased off the pace a bit there, but again, I reckon you're probably about 3 hours, I think, per chapter.
Yeah, but if you are busy out there and you want to dedicate some time, know that you can do it in nice sizable chunks. But Life is Strange True Colours, that's our first thoughts, our final thoughts on it, in fact. And if you do wish to check out the full series, it's now up in all its complete glory, starting off with Part 1, Chapter 1, at the launch, and we work our way through it. We'll actually have to get a playlist started, Richie. We'll get them all bundled together in one playlist on the YouTube channel, so you can check them out at your own leisure. Right, before we move into the news, Richie, because we do have some stories that do pertain to Life is Strange Remastered, in fact. But before we do get there, I just want to spend a few minutes just seeing what else you've been playing outside of Life is Strange, because there's a whole catalogue of games out there. What have you been up to?
Yeah, well, so I finished Miles Morales. I decided I couldn't be bothered to go back and do all the different challenges and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, I really enjoyed Miles Morales. I like the kind of smaller nature of it.
Yeah, I really did.
It doesn't feel small because you still got the same size map as you did in PS4 Spider-Man. But it's not as demanding on your time. You're not looking like a 60 to 80 hour experience. It's close to about 30.
Yeah.
So it was quite nice. But I actually jumped back into last night because when you're one of them moves like, I've just finished the game, I don't know what I want to play next. You're looking at your backlog, nothing's jumping out at you. I've jumped back into Persona 5.
Of all the games,
I know. I just fancy. It was just like, that's the game I want to play right now. I'm probably not going to finish it. I have no intention of finishing it.
I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of hours, right?
You know what? Yeah. I think I clocked in over 120 hours last time.
Wow.
But I think it's one of them where when it's just like, no, that's the game I want to play right now.
Yeah, completely.
So
you got that itch. You are a big JRPG fan.
I am.
So hopefully we'll see
Especially this year, I played a lot of JRPGs. I think it's just because nothing that much has come up this year outside of JRPGs that caught my attention. And we got a lot of JRPGs coming to Stadia this year. Yeah,
it almost rekindled the fire and the interest in them to go back. And there's some quality ones out there. So terrific stuff. Anything on Stadia in particular?
At the moment, I am still playing FIFA, but FIFA's one of them games where I literally every year will put hundreds of hours, over 100 hours into, because I'll just pick up one evening and I might play one evening and then not touch it for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's just something I just dabble in. I've got a handful of different career modes on the go, and occasionally as well, I fancy playing as Man U, and I'll jump into my Man U career mode for a couple of games.
And then just go with well, we've got FIFA 22 comes out this coming Friday, so I for one will be to get back into there. Yeah, new teams, new modes. Interested to see how much better it looks with those next gen features on Stadia, and the fact that we're getting it day and date with everyone else does
massive improvement.
Improvement. It does feel like I'm just more energized to looking forward to it. I think because it's going to be in the conversation with everyone else and everything else. All of the little GIFs and memes that are going to be on social media, I'll be able to look at them and be like, oh yeah, I get that. When the keeper fritzes out and his leg flies off the screen and everything like that, because it's day and date, so it's awesome.
Come at the right part of the year where the new season, it's quite new, it's quite fresh. So it's like the peak of my interest in football peaks at the start and end of the seasons.
Yeah.
Because at the start, it's a new season, all the transfers are going through, there's loads of news, so you get really invested. As the season goes on, I kind of lose interest a bit, largely because I don't have anywhere to actually watch any games because I refuse to pay the price for Sky Sports. It's massively overpriced when you compare it to other subscription services.
Yep.
And that means I can't watch much football without breaking the law. So
breaking the law.
So the middle of the season when it came out on Stadia is usually at the lowest ebb of my interest in the sport.
So they're going to get us at the right time, it would appear. And of course, we are playing it next Saturday as part of our charity stream as well, so we'll get to check it out. And we'll have only had, a day's practice, if that, so it should be very interesting. I'm currently just playing through my Black Panther character on Avengers, just chipping away, doing a match here and there. Again, like I do, enjoy the grind on that one. The odd FIFA game, but nothing major over on Stadia. I'm absolutely powering through Mass Effect 3 over on PlayStation. Really enjoying it. I'm waiting for that big controversial moment to happen that I've heard happens in the final game of the trilogy. So we'll see how that takes to it.
Like the last moments of it, isn't that kind of one of the things that fell down? It's like
the
story builds and it just didn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah, but then again, I'm pretty sure I remember reading that they retconned it, or they went in and gave you a multiple choice option or something. So I'm interested to just see where it goes. But so far, I think 3 might be my actual favourite, even though I know 2 was touted as it. I feel like just 3. I don't know whether it's creeping towards the more modern era of gaming, so everything feels smoother, and they've filtered out a lot of the stuff that made the older titles a bit clunkier. But all in all, yeah, I'm loving the characters. I'm loving the decision making. I'm really invested in the story. I'm actually getting to a point now where I'm actually switching off like podcasts and stuff, and I'm just playing the game. Even when I'm grinding, I'm genuinely interested in the world and this lore and all the stuff that's going on with this galactic battle against the Reapers. So it's really interesting.
That's a great sign of a good narrative in a game where I actually go, you know what, I'm not going to put a podcast on, I'm not going to put some music on while I play it because I just want to be fully immersed.
Yeah, and I was doing that last night and I played it for a good 5 hours straight. So, hopefully getting there, maybe finish it soon, going for that Platinum Trophy. But of course, it's not on Stadia, unfortunately, Richie. There's the one downside.
One of the things I do love about JRPGs, actually, is because you do go through these, like, big story moments, then you're usually left open into the world again, where you'll just be traversing an area, level up your characters, that sort of stuff. They're the moments where I'll go, okay, we'll have a podcast on. Okay, story beat, pause the podcast.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Yeah, the side stuff, it's quite like, it doesn't really have that much impact. But as soon as I get to like a main story beat, it's like, right, yeah, pause. I'm going to dedicate time to listen to my options and stuff. But like I said, shame it's not on Stadia. It would have been a terrific collection. I would have played through 3 massive RPGs on the platform. Alas, that's not here. Just like you're not here to talk about Mass Effect on PlayStation necessarily, you're here to talk about all the Stadia and gaming news. So, Richie, if you could do us the honours of introducing us to
the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka
the news. Fresh off the press this week, Mr. Richard, we've got a new game announcement. First story of the week, Chorus, or Chorvus, as we joked about back in the day, due to the U being more Norse mythology inspired. Chorus from Deep Silver and Fish Labs, one of the teasers from the THQ Embracer Group team that we didn't actually see anything about during the other week's showcase. It's been dated. And it's not that far away. You will only have to wait, ladies and gentlemen, until the 3rd of December when it arrives day and date on Stadia along with other platforms. Just to recap, welcome to the world of Chorus. We introduce you to the story of ace pilot Nara, a fugitive on a quest to destroy the dark cult that created her, facing her haunted past along the way. Now, I watched the trailer. They released another story trailer for this, Richie, and essentially there's a kind of crazy cult that's out in space. It's all about darkness, and your character is actually the right-hand woman of the main kind of leader of this cult, and clearly something goes wrong, and she realises that actually she's part of a cult. This is bad. Let's get out of here and kind of help save the galaxy in a kind of way. Now, interesting enough, what I didn't realise from the early trailers, her starfighter jet, because this game is very much starfighter focused, like you're flying around in space shooting things. It's a sentient starfighter called Forsaken, and my immediate go-to was Kit from Knight Rider. So now we're in space, we've got away from this cult, we're flying around, shooting shit up. The game looks beautiful, by the way, and we've got a Knight Rider-esque starfighter called Forsaken, which is a cool name for a ship, by the way. And yeah, the game just looks beautiful. Like, I'm genuinely looking at like my interest for this was practically non-existent, and I don't know whether it's because we're just starved of games on this platform, or I've never played something quite like this from kind of like Star Fox time or Rogue Squadron. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I'm down for this.
I said before the show to you, there's a couple of games in mind that reminds me of, and you just named them both.
Well, I mean, it does, right? And there's limited options when it comes to that. And yes, Star Wars Rogue Squadron I've got many fond memories of that game, especially with a joystick on PC. That was beautiful to play back in the day.
I had it on N64.
Oh, yes. I mean, there has been N64. You might be able to play this soon. You see the Nintendo Switch brought out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Will you be getting one? Does the N64 controller tempt you back in?
A little bit, but I think the price is way too high.
Oh yeah, it still is.
It shouldn't be more than, for something like that. It shouldn't be more than, it's like, I think it's something like 50 quid. It shouldn't be more than 30 for me. And that is I think it is a bit of a deal breaker for something that is literally a novelty to play old games, many of which I already own. Yeah,
I mean, do you still have your N64?
Yeah.
So you've already got like controllers and stuff anyway. Let's see if it comes with the joystick, with the loose analog joystick still, like the old ones used to have.
Going back to Chorus, though, it reminds, as you mentioned, Star Fox and Rogue Squadron. It reminds me of, like, if you give a bit more of a gritty sci-fi take on that, very modern, taking the same sort of. I think it falls into the same game genre of gaming as them, obviously much more modern. And then throwing in some RPG elements and a very gripping narrative is like, I'm pretty much sold on this.
Yeah, it's like the biggest thing for me was the narrative. I couldn't remember anything because this game was announced quite a long time ago. I know we covered it when Tom was on the show way back when.
Yeah.
And it was hard to really get a grasp for it other than it looked like a space shooter, but the colour palette, I'm getting big Control vibes as well, just probably based on all the red neon lights, to be fair. But yeah, if it's got a decent narrative, as it says in the description, as Nara explores ancient temples, engaging in zero-G combat and fighting to unite the resistance forces against the cult known as the Circle, which she used to be a part of, and their leader, the Great Prophet. Welcome to the world of Chorus. Yeah, the gameplay just looks fun, it looks different, and I just hope it plays as good as it looks. I for one, when the Star Wars Battlefront 2 game came out, I was a massive fan of the space flight combat. Obviously, you're flying around X-Wings and TIE fighters, so it's got that nostalgia from the franchise anyway. But yeah, this looks great. I'm very interested to see if you do any actual like third-person boots on the ground, or if it's all through menus and cutscenes. But it looks like you get to upgrade your ship, different weapons, travel to different like pockets of galaxies. And as someone who's currently deep ingrained in Mass Effect 2, it's really appealing to me. And like I said, we don't have long to wait.
Your hype for this game is coming from the fact that you're playing like one of the most beloved sci-fi franchises all the time. So maybe like you're quite sensitive to, I want some more good sci-fi.
Yeah, and it's interesting enough, Mass Effect, for all it's got its little mini-map, where you fly the little Normandy ship from planet to planet in between levels.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun. You control this little kind of like Lego figurine almost. But there's no point in all three games where you actually pilot the ship and shoot stuff and avoid stuff and maybe go through an asteroid field or something. It's actually an element from the game that I'm surprised that three titles in, it's not been a feature, because you literally, your whole base hub is on a ship in space, and there's no part where you fly the ship. You do like little side missions in like hover cars and stuff, but it feels like a missed chance.
It feels like it'd be a good spin-off game, like something in the style of Chorus, of Rogue Squadron, but set in the Mass Effect universe. Like, just because you can use that IP, use that universe that you have built, all the lore that exists in there, but have a completely different game in there.
Yeah, if you took Chorus and put a Mass Effect skin on it, it would probably sell like 3-4 times as much. Like reality is that it would. But that's for EA to focus and hopefully get on at some point. And I'm just really interested in this. It's gone from like non-existent, not really on my radar, of course.
I think, if my memory serves, I think when I first saw it, I was like, okay, that seems like an interesting concept. I probably want to see more of that. And now I've seen more of it, I'm pretty much in.
Me too. I'm curious. I'm
One
guessing
thing I have noticed though is the trailer says like pre-order now, but the pre-order isn't currently up on Stadia.
Yes, I did see some people on Twitter post about that over the weekend, saying...
I've just had a look, because I wanted to look at what the price was.
Yes. What is the price? Do we know what the price is on Steam?
I don't...
We'll get that price for our viewers out there. We'll do a bit of journalism and see what the price is. So yeah, it was announced over a year ago.
It is $34.99 on Steam.
Okay, so it's...
Yeah, it's good. I think that's about right.
Good price. Should point out as well, when they did an interview back in the day, they mentioned Stadia's Gen 2 server blades. We probably covered it on the podcast at the time, but again, I'd very much forgot because it was almost over a year ago. And one of them said about Stadia 2.0 and having dev kits. And then they were pushed on the question and they didn't really give the answer. There's an article over on Stadia Source if you want to read about it. But yeah, talked about much rumored Gen 2 Stadia server blades. Wonder if they've got something to tell us for their birthday, Richie. Because we are literally just short of 2 months out from Stadia's birthday now. So if you've not checked out our side quest episode from last week yet, we went in depth about key Stadia dates and should we or will we see it connect this year in 2021? Will they go the entire year without no marketing beats or showcase events or anything outside of a few community blogs and the closure of their own studios? Who knows? But we are getting to that point where they're running out of time. Maybe we'll get some news on Gen 2 servers and new game updates and some stealth drops, Richie.
I'm still holding to my things I've said previously, where I think they'll upgrade incrementally, but I don't think they'll ever do a big announcement. Developers will probably be aware because they'll get to know more intricate details of the specs because they're literally working with the dev kits.
Yeah, true.
But I think that's where you're going to hear more information rather than off Stadia.
Indeed.
Stadia won't even tell us what games are coming to the platform and when they're coming. Never mind what they're doing with the hardware behind the scenes.
Yeah, that would be too much to ask for. But yes, so Chorus, 3rd of December, not too long to go when the nights get darker and colder and you can stay indoors and play exciting games about sentient ships in space. Moving on. Second story of the week, everyone. Ark Survival has evolved on Stadia to a point where they've patched it, Richie. All of the fanfare and all of the stuff that was circulating online, it runs like shit and all this and frame rates and all that, and everyone was all over it. We were all over it. We covered it as well. We asked them for better, Richie.
Stuff about it.
Everyone, yeah. We asked them for better. We demanded better from them. We did a whole side quest episode about performance and should there be
largely
more...
Largely because I was pissed off.
Yeah, and should we do more quality control within the Stadia ecosystem? Of course, the answer is 100% yes. Why wouldn't you want more quality control when it comes to consumer products? And without going into too much detail then, the new version has fixed multiple exploits. They have fixed a bug where pressing the spacebar apparently brings up the camera. Fixed a bug where weapon loadouts would equip themselves. Typos, server versioning, security consoles. I'm just reading from the article now. Fixed server, but more importantly, adjusted default Stadia video settings to support increased view distance and better texture quality. The following settings can be adjusted in the options, post-processing and view distance. So, probably not all the fixes everybody was hoping for, but it does look like they're listening.
The biggest one for me was when I was trying to play, like every couple of minutes, it just jumped forward and made the game like horrendous to play. And that doesn't seem to be addressed. I don't know if it's still an issue. I literally haven't jumped in since launch day. That might have just been addressed already. But because I remember I remember talking about when we're talking about the quality control, like things like the view distance, the texture stuff, and like all that's fine, but the game needs to play. You need to be able to play the game without it just jerking all over the place.
Yeah, no one likes a slow jerk. But I know, it kind of goes back to the game only came out 26 days ago on the platform.
Yeah.
Do you kind of feel like it probably would have benefited from just that extra month in the oven and came out on the 1st of October as Pro instead?
I'd love to know the story behind why. It feels like when they're just porting it, all the sliders was just set to minimum and locked that. Because it's clear. I mean, if you've seen our Gem's video and the Reddit threads, using the console commands, all you're doing is you're manipulating the sliders, but instead of using like the UI, you just do it through a console command.
Yeah.
So they've got this. It seems weird. I don't. Why haven't they just before port? Was there a problem with the porting process? Because surely they would have done some testing, like before they launched to see like messing on with the sliders to kind of nail that in.
Yeah. Well, this is the interesting thing. Like Studio Wildcard, the developers and publishers behind the game, it's self-published, of course, as well. I've seen loads of people in the comments. Like I'm not that really clued up on Ark. It's an older game that's been out for some time, but the general consensus out there on the internet is that the studio devs are very much known for this kind of thing, like their patchwork and the way the game runs. It's not great on consoles and stuff anyway, and PC, and servers are problematic and stuff. So it just seems like the part of the allure of the game is the jank to a degree, but then at the same time it's detrimental to your title. But like you said, we'll never know. We'll never hear behind the scenes really unless they come out and do an interview. But
I'm going to be honest, like the game, I'm not interested in the game at all anymore. I was intrigued when it was coming because I'd never played it, and I was intrigued to jump into that world. But the way it launched, it's like, no, it's just not worth my time.
Yeah, and it just shows you like the power and influence of like marketing and hitting things at the right time and quality control. Because if they're a pro game, we know the new pro games revenue stream is based on how much people play your game, and due to a very unfortunate release, evidently you'd like to think most. I'm not going to play this game again. Really, I've got no interest.
I hope when they're doing like analysis of like the profitability stuff like that, they've realised that actually they tanked this game themselves. Like the state of release is the main reason. It may grow over time. I think it probably will. You may find a thriving Stadia community in this game, but I think a lot of people who are interested in the game will or got bought into the hype of it coming to Stadia will have played it and went, this game runs terribly, it looks ugly, and then moved on.
Yeah. And that won't be helped by the marketing cycle it had either. Remember, we were told it got delayed and then it wasn't coming, and we just weren't kept in the loop with it. And I genuinely think that will have impacted people's desire to play it. And then when it finally came out, it was a broken mess. It's just like, how many strikes do you get before you literally just ruled out of the game? And it's like, no, not interested. You've lost me.
I'm a big advocate of, if a developer needs to delay a game, delay it. I'd rather wait to play a better game. But this is not what we got with Ark. We got a delayed mess. So
yeah, completely.
It clearly, again, I stand by. I don't think that game should have been launched. I don't think Studio Wildcard should have launched this. I don't think Google Stadia should have accepted it being launched when it did.
But if you want to hear more about that, head over to youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games and check out our side quest episode where we spoke about all of this in much, much more detail. Side quest episodes are quite good for this, Richie. If we have like a specific podcast, that's why we do it at the end of the day. If we have a podcast topic,
that's the concept of the show,
that we don't obviously want to bog down a whole news podcast with it, is if you want to learn more about that, if you want to talk about it, head over to the comments. Join us in our Discord server as well. Is a lot of the subjects we talk about here on the show and on the side quest show, is the conversation very much ticks over on our Discord. The link's in the description below on the video and in the podcast.
I'm always happy for people to write in with topic ideas.
Always. Yeah, we've got open doors here. Right then, third story of the week, Richie. We've got an APK update. Our friends over at 9 to 5 Google doing the hard work, and Mr. Carl Bradshaw has broken down the latest Android APK file. If you don't know what an APK file is, folks, I don't either. I actually don't know what it stands for. Forgot APK.
I can't remember what it stands for, but it's effectively the Android equivalent of a .exe on the PC, which is just an executable file. It's a program.
And if you don't know what that is, folks, it's basically, you can go into the code and see some keywords which tell you what might be happening in the future.
If you make a Word document, it's got .doc on the end. This is what a program on app would have on the end. That's what it is. This
is where people find out the inside scoop before it goes live, because obviously a lot of this coding goes on behind the scenes before it's pushed to the public. And from the latest APK file, Stadia 3.36 includes more work towards voice chat updates. So finally, Richie, we may be able to use the microphone to actually create a voice chat party within the app. The new notes suggest that you're able to turn on microphone permissions whilst also sending a party invite. It's been a long time coming, this thing.
Yeah, I mean, when I was reading this, it's like I kind of forgot about it. I was like, yeah, you still need to get parity between like the three modes that you can play it, whether it's on your phone or through a browser or through a Chromecast.
Yeah.
These 2 years into the cycle of the since launch, the fact that these aren't synchronized is problematic.
Yeah, it is. If you're new to the platform and you boot up the Stadia app, you're playing on Chromecast and you think, well, how do I create a party, talk to people? Like at the moment, we use Discord still when we play together.
Yeah.
Which we shouldn't have to use an external program.
Or just integrate Discord into it. That would be the
dream.
The ideal solution. Yeah, we'll just integrate Discord into Stadia.
Well, that's what PlayStation are doing, right? They made it, when all that rumour about Microsoft acquiring Discord, it turns out they've made a partnership with PlayStation to integrate it, in fact, into PlayStation. But that was one of the
weird things with their party stuff.
Yeah, it's very odd. But doesn't everybody? More importantly, though, next up on the APK file, we've found something called Instant Trial, and a non-pro free-to-play game, which suggests we might be getting the ability to try before you buy. So we've theorised this, we've had demos, we've had free weekends that don't require a pro subscription. Is this the next evolution of that, Richie, with an instant trial?
Yeah, but I think you can already do that with a kind of workaround, because at the moment, the refund policy allows you to play for under 2 hours and get a full refund. For me, this is kind of more of an evolution of that. It's like, you know what? Why don't we just let people do that? It's just, why don't we just let people, instead of people going out for a workaround and buying the game and refunding it, let's just put an instant trial on it. I bet this might be my prediction for this. You're probably going to see it being time capped for 2 hours, and after 2 hours, it'll come up with a message saying, "Do you want to buy? To continue, you need to buy."
Yeah,
which I think is fantastic. To be honest.
It might just be they see that many people buying the game and refunding the game anyway. This might be just a case they're like, you know what, our accountant team or the algorithm that does the money transfers, it's getting bogged down in all these goddamn returns.
Honestly, it probably looks better in their accounts when they're seeing less returns.
Yes, so instant trial. I think it's great. I think all platforms should have this. I know we used to have demo discs and stuff were a thing back in the day, but essentially, it's a formal version of a demo. And I'll be honest, I've played games and refunded them after 2 hours. I did it with The Crew too, I think.
Yeah, I've done it as well. I think I did a first look on Doom Eternal when that first launched, and it took me a couple of goes, so I ended up refunding it twice.
Wow. So
I did buy the game eventually, but.
If anything, it's just creating another outlet for people to try more games. And if you don't need to even have it doesn't say anywhere that you won't need a Gmail account, which I imagine you might need to tie it to a bank account somehow to have it. But
your accounts, I'd imagine it's just like when you go into the store page where you currently have the button to buy, there might be a button to try as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I think it's good for developers because demos, I think, are one of the things that gamers love.
Yeah,
because it gives you a chance to try out a game, see what it's about before you commit to a purchase. I think a lot of developers hate them because they're already pushed to get things released in time, and creating a demo is more work.
Yeah, completely. Just let them just straight into the opening scene. And then final point of note from this APK breakdown is screen switching. So the little memo was found that said, and quotes, switch screen to play on. And anyone who's played Stadia across multiple devices will know at the moment it's a bit of a pain when you transfer from, say, a PC to a Chromecast stick to a laptop to a phone, because you very much need to resync and kind of boot up. Like Stadia holds its place, but the transition across isn't quite as smooth as Mr. Phil Harrison made out on stage at the GDC announcement 2 years back now. Whereas I think some of the competitors, I know Amazon Luna, we've not tried it ourselves, Richie, but I think the jump from Luna program to program is a lot more seamless because the controller doesn't need reconnecting.
That's a big thing for me, the controller reconnecting. Like, I don't mind having to, if I'm playing downstairs on my Chromecast and going to come up here and play on my PC, I don't mind having to just boot up and leave that on, boot up here and it just switches instantly.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, but messing on with the controllers can be annoying.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me with the controller is I still don't know why I can't. With every other Google Home app you have, you can it can basically pull your ISP data from your phone, so you can connect anything to your Wi-Fi instantly. Mm-hmm. Stadia, you still have to go and type in your password, select your network, and that's a bit annoying.
Yeah, there's a little bit of work to do.
My solution is just have lots of controllers.
Yeah, that's actually what I do. I've got a controller dedicated to the living room TV. That's the great thing with the Premier editions. They just shit out all over the place. As you can just have
I've got two downstairs and two in my office.
One anywhere. But yeah, in terms of switch to the screen to play, is in theory, your controller is hooked up to the Stadia servers. So there's no reason why you jumping screens shouldn't matter. If I switch from PC to TV, if I wiggle the controller sticks, the movement should still be being processed direct through the controller, so the screen shouldn't really matter that much. And if Luna can do it, it's clearly possible. So yeah, I'm hoping that maybe all it would take is an option where you go maybe into the settings on your app and choose your preference for screen switching. Do you want to put a code in every time? Do you want it to remember this device for 24 hours? How about that?
Yeah, that. Even just have, as a part of like a home network, here's all the different devices that you've played Stadia on. Mm-hmm. And just have it one click, switch device, work device, click that, then everything moves across.
Yeah, nice and easy.
But in general, it's nice to see that they are still working on the background tech.
Yeah, it certainly is.
These quality of life features are coming, not as quick as I would like, but they're coming.
They're coming. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Moving on, though, away from the APK file, Richie. Speaking of quality of life, next up, we're on the cusp of Far Cry 6 coming out. I've got it ordered, Gold Edition, in all its DLC glory. I cannot wait to jump into it. I've got that Far Cry itch building in me now. I'm finishing off Mass Effect. I'm ready to jump into a crazy Ubisoft open world. And cannot wait to see the villainous Giancarlo Esposito in another role. However, interestingly, an article came out from Tech Radar this week confirming that Far Cry 6 on console will not feature ray tracing. And Ubisoft have came out with a statement and clarified, and I quote, "Ray tracing is a PC-only feature. On console, our objective has been to take advantage of new hardware capabilities, optimizing performance, targeting 4K, and achieving 60 frames per second, for instance, all while ensuring that the experience on the previous generation of consoles would remain consistent." Now, Richie, as Stadia sits in this weird hybrid world where we have Cyberpunk running seamlessly, equivalent to a PC, we have FIFA 22 launching with next-gen hypermotion features exclusive on PS5, Xbox Series X, and Stadia only. Even PC don't have that one. Far Cry 6, ray tracing. Where do we think the ball is going to land when it comes to this edition on Stadia? What's your personal take?
I don't think there's a single game on Stadia that has ray tracing, so I think that's pretty much...
But it's the PC-only version, apparently. It's a PC-only feature. And I actually read this article initially when I saw the headline. I was hoping to pull it up and Ubisoft would have clarified what that means for Stadia and Luna. And they didn't. And I was like, oh, why can they never just not answer all the questions that are pertinent to the story? So they've clarified it's not coming to PS5 and Series X. It's PC only. But then they've not mentioned what it runs on the other two platforms they support. What do we think, then? Any chance at all?
For Stadia, I think there's no chance in the slightest. But I didn't think there would be a chance even if it had ray tracing on PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Okay.
Because, as I said, not a single game on Stadia has ray tracing.
Wow.
I don't see that changing anytime soon. And ray tracing is a very, very hardware intense technology, which is why I think it's not on Stadia, because Stadia have to use a lot of trickery to get that seamless like performance, because they not only does, I think Stadia actually have everything up-resed, then condense it for the stream. So if you're playing at 4K at Stadia, that might be getting rendered at 6K, 8K or something. Okay. And that's how they
compress it. Yeah. Compress it.
That's how that handle like compression issues.
Yeah, they crank it up so high that by the time it funnels down the pipes to us, it still looks great.
And the bigger and bigger resolution you go, the harder and harder it is for actually a GPU to run it. In the end of the day, it Stadia, it is basically a PC, just not in your house.
Mm-hmm.
A PlayStation and Xbox are getting closer and closer to being PCs anyway.
Well,
the same basic components that makes up a PC makes up them consoles.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? That the kind of next-gen, current-gen hardware was touted as its ray tracing was going to be the next big leap forward. And then, funnily enough, I think there's only been a handful of games. I actually think Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank, the PlayStation exclusives, have done terrific jobs at showcasing it. Those games look beautiful. Yeah.
Well, what I liked about Miles Morales is it's actually, I think it is brought up in this Tech Radar article, is usually you get basically a slider. Do you want to go performance or quality? And they're your choices on console. Do you want things like 4K? Do you want true 4K instead of like up-res 4K? Do you want HDR? Do you want ray tracing? That's where you go for quality. If you go performance, you get your 60 plus frames per second, and that's the trade-off you make. Mm-hmm. With Miles Morales, there was 3 options. There was an upscaled 4K with ray tracing. There was a true 4K with ray tracing, and basically a full-on performance mode, which was nice for me. Like I don't have a 4K TV, so if I hit so it's like having that one in the middle where it's upscaled to 4K. That's not going to affect me at all because my TV can only output at 1080p. But then that means I got ray tracing at 60 frames per second, so that middle option give me the best I could actually play the game at with the screen I had. I just wish more games would incorporate features like like that.
A bit more flexibility, yeah. We should probably mention as well, Far Cry 5, from my understanding, doesn't run that well on Stadia as well. I've seen a few people out there in the Twitterverse complaining about the frame rate drops and basically rendering it unplayable for them as an individual.
Yeah, I think it's 30 frames per second as well, which for a lot of people that is a deal breaker instantly.
Especially with first-person shooters.
It's not a deal breaker for me, but for a lot of people it is.
Interesting. So, in a way, then Ubisoft have something to prove for me. Yeah. Do you think there's a chance we ever get ray tracing on Stadia? Surely it's got to be down the line, right?
Yeah, I think we'll get it. I think if we already mentioned the rumored Stadia Gen 2, which has been rumored for as long as Stadia's existed. Yeah,
like this day 2 after launch. It was like, when's it getting better? Classic.
Yeah, but I think eventually we will see ray tracing. This is one where we need Tom to go into like the techie stuff. Like I think it's like the Vulkan API, stuff like that. I think can support it. Let me know in the comments. That's beyond my level of knowledge in the tech.
Indeed. But funny you should say Beyond, Richie, because a side note to this story is Far Cry Beyond has been announced, and out there everyone thinking, what the hell's Far Cry Beyond? It is not a new game, folks. It is a tabletop board game. That's all I'll go into, but I just think the logo looks quite cool. Yeah, Far Cry Beyond, a tabletop board game in partnership with Funforge, who make tabletop games. They've done similar things for Mushroom Kingdom inspired spin-offs, World of Warcraft, fan games, and other type things. So if you're into your board games, go check out Funforge on Twitter. We've got a link description about what it's going to look like. I don't know what a Far Cry board game would look like.
I haven't got a clue.
Who knows? Right, moving things on. The next star of the week, we have a date, Richie. We spoke about at the top of the show, Life is Strange. True Colours. Of course, Life is Strange Remastered was supposed to be a pro game for this very month. We should have been playing Life is Strange Remastered. Curious, I wonder what we would have done for our streams, Richie, if this had came out the same time as True Colours. Would we have played this one first on stream, maybe?
I don't know. I think we probably would have played True Colours because that's been the true new game. True. And maybe do like an offline recording of these or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But we both love this game, of course. You went back like a crazy man and played this, or started playing this mid True Colours playthrough anyway, so you're getting characters left, right and centre.
Before True Colours came out, but
and then it caught
not
up.
That long. There's between Life is Strange and Before the Storm, there's 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Each is about 3 hours long, so it's like a week.
Yeah, week worth of playing games. Yeah. Of course, yes, so it should have been a Stadia Pro game for September. It's now coming out, date confirmed, February the 1st, 2020. So I think it's safe to assume, Richie, although we should never assume, that this will be a February Pro game. 1st of February, surely lock in. Although it would not surprise me if it never came out as a Pro game now. There'll be some weird twist where the deal expired at the turn of the year and February comes and goes and we hear nothing from anyone. And we start pulling our hair out again.
Max went back in time and changed things so that deal was never signed.
Never signed. So yes, not too long to wait. I do remember the team, Deck 9, developers of the game, they delayed this to ensure the well-being of the staff and they wanted to focus on making sure True Colours got out in a quality state, which it did. And now they've obviously finished that, they're wrapping up and they're able to commit to a date for this. So February 1st.
Give me crowd choice in this game. It needs it.
It would be great.
Yeah.
And this does come.
It's like, this is something I'd love to do.
Mm-hmm. And as a reminder, this does come with Before the Storm included. So that's the kind of spin-off little mini DLC chapter stories. Just as good as the main one. On a toss of a coin, Richie, which one's your favourite? True Colours or the original?
I think the original still edges it for me. But as I've said, I still need to go back and play True Colours myself to really
enjoy
immerse myself a bit more.
Absorb.
But yeah, I think the original is always going to have I think it's always going to be one of them games I just go back to every couple of years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's about 3-4 years since I last played them before this year.
Yeah, probably about the same for me. So interesting. I too want to go through True Colours and just kind of absorb the story in my own pace without stream, camera, chat and everything. As much as we love you out there, folks, there is something very different about playing a game on stream. You don't take as much in because you're juggling several things at once, trying to keep the stream entertaining and talking and not just sitting in silence and reading reading in silence.
There was a couple of conversations that happened in game that I read back on the stream before I answered, because we were talking over the conversation.
Yeah, it does happen. Speaking about conversations, though, we were not going to get past this week without talking about this subject. Let's just sit back for this one. Let's just rip the plaster off, folks. You may have seen over the weekend, I tweeted out about a very specific title. We've been building up to it for well over a year now, for some ridiculous reason. Mafia, of course. Definitive Edition, the trilogy, 1, 2 and 3. This is the last time we will talk. Aside from an actual date, this is the last time I will talk about this on this show in detail, to say the least. So the Mafia Definitive Trilogy was teased on the 13th of May 2020, which was now 501 days ago at the time of recording. 501 days. Just reiterate that. Second to that, it then was released on the agreed consoles, PlayStation, Xbox, on the 25th of September 2020. For those who've looked at the calendar recently, you'll notice that date has passed. It is, in fact, the 26th of September at the time of recording, which means it has been over 365 days since the console launch. Richie, to you and me and most people out there, that's over one whole year.
Yeah.
And yet, 2K publishers, Hangar 13, the developers, and the platform themselves, Google Stadia, are yet to acknowledge, address, give their consumer fan base any information regarding this game whatsoever. And quite frankly, it's a disgrace. I'm at that point, Richie, where I'm going to start to go a bit hard on them, because it's... You can't announce something and not talk about it for over one whole year. It's embarrassing to your fans, the players, potential buyers. I can't. I know I've mentioned it many times before. I cannot fathom how, as a business, a collaboration between multiple companies cannot crack their heads together, have a quick Microsoft Teams call, and go, guys, what is the status on this game? We announced it. We teased it over one goddamn year ago. What's happening with it? To then just put out a tweet and say, don't worry, we're still working on it. It'll be here by, even just say 2022 at this point. That gives you a whole additional year and a half to work on the game. But silence, it's embarrassing.
That's the thing, is like, if the game it was no longer coming to Stadia, or it was a mistake, or whatever it was, the reason why it hasn't come out over the last year, if they'd just been upfront and go, look, we need more time to bring it to Stadia. It's not high priority for us. Put a statement. We'll have probably one episode where we bitch about it, and then we move on. But it's a year. It's bad. Like, I thought this is something that the gaming industry was moving away from, as like people realise actually having a bit more of a public facing side and engaging with gamers actually works better. And like,
yeah. Well, this is kind of the worst thing, and I think why this is amplified so much is because it's out on other consoles. It was announced before it was out on anything, and the date it came out on your competitors, by the way, PlayStation, Xbox, it came out on the 25th of September, and that was the ironic thing, is we all got the tease in May. Oh, great, there's a definitive edition coming out by the end of summer. And every other platform has gotten the game, and as Stadia fans and as Stadia players, I myself thought, oh, it might just be a bit delayed. We expect delays, okay, it takes time to port, maybe by Christmas. We're now an entire year extra has passed since the date our competitors, not our competitors, quote, Stadia's competitors, got the game, and you said nothing. If you go on the team, Richie, who works on the Mafia 2 port, their website, I can't remember the name of their company, they've moved on. They're now they're promoting on their own website other games, and Mafia 2 is now just part of their back catalogue of games they've worked on. So the teams that are porting the games aren't even doing the game anymore. And yeah, I'm at this point where just tell us it's cancelled. or give us a goddamn update. You owe it to your audience to tell you what the hell is happening with this game, because people have been waiting for it for over 365 days. I saw Lee from Stadia Sources bought it on PlayStation because it's down to £8 in the sale now. It's either got to be a pro game or not, but we digress. I just thought, we were always building up to this year anniversary. We thought maybe they might surprise us now that the year has passed. There may have been some weird exclusivity deal where it was only out on consoles for a whole year before it could come to cloud. Whatever bullshit.
Weird,
yeah, it seems like a stupid deal.
Usually with exclusivity, you're going to see exclusive to one platform, plus PC sometimes.
Yeah, but we should point out again, these games were rated via ESRB, so they have been rated for the platform. They then just not came out, and at this point, it's embarrassing for all parties concerned, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's the fact that both 2K and Stadia, neither of them have said a single word about it. It's like, can one of you not just? Can you not just have a quick call and go, look, we need to put a statement here? It's dragging on, people getting impatient.
Yeah, I think it's beyond impatience at this point. But
yeah, honestly, I'm going to say outright, don't buy this game on Stadia.
Yeah, none of the parties deserve the money at this point because there's the lack of communication. And
feel free to tweet at 2K as long as you're nice about it. Don't be.
Oh yeah, of course.
Don't attack any individual. Just go, I was interested in buying the game on Stadia, but after a year of silence, I'm no longer interested.
Yeah, well, that's what I did in my tweet out. I don't mean to. If I sound too harsh, apologies. It comes from a place of passion. Again, that's the thing we always talk about on the podcast. Like, we'll criticize when it's required, and I think this is arguably one of the biggest stories that merits criticism.
Yeah,
because it's an absolute shit show. Like, if I have a problem with my Stadia controller, I can tweet at Stadia, and I'll get a response hopefully that says, "Oh, private messages and we'll look into why you're having problems." Yet you tag all three parties in a conversation about a realistic expectation of where this game is. Silence. 365 days of silence. And I've tweeted at them many, many times and I get nothing back. So is my opinion as a consumer does it not matter?
I get the opinion. I have the opinion that what they're trying to do with Mafia is get people to forget about it, and that's why they're not answering. And they're hoping that silence will mean people will just move on for whatever reason, which is a horrible way to treat your customers.
Yeah, completely.
Because the thing is, if you do it with this, we'll expect it on other games, which means that, well, if a game is announced for, like, a game is announced for multiple platforms at the same time, and then it comes out and it's on PlayStation, Xbox, and doesn't come out with Stadia, my assumption then is it's not coming to Stadia. Oh, what do I have to wait over a year for it? Like, what's the situation? So, I'm past the point where I'm going to giving Stadia like that. In the first year of Stadia, I was being giving a bit more leeway. Like, if a game was like, when we was coming up with Cyberpunk, I was very much on the side of, I'm happy to wait for it to come out in Stadia as long as it's not too long. Where now, for me, if you bring out a game, it's got to be day and date with other platforms. You're 2 years since the console's launched. That's the minimum expectation if a game is coming. Yeah,
I agree. The only kind of shining light I can take away from this is it's not out on Switch yet. So maybe it comes in line with a Switch port at some point. Great. But fine. Who knows? But I guarantee you Nintendo will tell us when it's coming out. They'll give us a date. And if it misses that date, guess what Nintendo will do? Tell us why it's not hit that date. Because they have an audience out there that they need to communicate with.
And Nintendo rarely miss their dates, actually.
Very true. But let's move away from that. Like I said, it's done and dusted now. It's over a year. Don't buy the game. I don't, quite frankly. I've committed before for our fans out there. I will play this game on stream if it's a pro game. I will not be using my own money to buy this game. They don't deserve it, in my opinion. So, either way, rant over, Richie. We can move on and we can put the 1930s, 40s, 50s, whatever decade they take part in, and put it to a side. Right, next story of the week. Nice little quick one here. Richie, if you wish to play Stadia using the power of a console via a web browser, you now can. Microsoft have announced a number of quality of life improvements and features coming to the Xbox, one of which is that famed web browser that we all love so much, Richie, Microsoft Edge, you can now play Stadia through Microsoft Edge on Xbox. Just using mouse and keyboard as well, if you do so choose.
That is one of the weird quirks of this update. The update is basically it's upgrading Edge to make Edge a bit more useful on Xbox, and you can use incorporates things like mouse and keyboard support. One of the outcomes of it is actually just lets you play Stadia because it's based on Chromium.
Yeah, hey, you could play Microsoft Excel if you wanted to as well.
You could.
That favourite game.
You could play Game Pass games through Edge browser on your Xbox.
Yeah, for the most convoluted route to the game, certainly. I tell you what, you could also play, Richie, Mafia through the Game Pass on there as well.
You can't play GeForce Now though.
No, GeForce Now are blocking it for probably legal reasons. I'm sure Stadia might be blocked eventually, but either way, more places to play if you wish to. Moving on, final stories of the week. We have an update, kind of similar, sticking to Microsoft news as well. In a bizarre and unexpected announcement, Crystal Dynamics tweeted out this week, of course one of the biggest third-party developers out there in the gaming world, made games that are on Stadia like Rise of the Tomb Raider and more recently Marvel's Avengers. They've announced a co-partnership with Microsoft Studios team, The Initiative, who are working on the upcoming Perfect Dark reboot. And it's just a bit odd all round, quite frankly, because the Initiative, for those who don't know, they're a first-party studio built from the ground up at Microsoft to essentially usher in AAA titles for Microsoft. They've not made anything yet, as far as I'm aware, the Initiative. They're working on Perfect Dark. It's the first game, right? I'm not in the Microsoft ecosystem as much as I am PlayStation, so apologies if I'm wrong with that one. I know they've not had a game out in a while, but now they're partnering with Square Enix and Square Enix Studio Crystal Dynamics to make a game. And I've listened to a few Xbox podcasts this week where they're showing either concern for the Initiative Studio, saying are the developers not up to snuff, and then more importantly, does this take away from the workload that Crystal Dynamics are now doing? They've got Avengers that they tell us they keep working on. We haven't had a Tomb Raider game for quite some time, even though they told us on the 25th anniversary earlier on this year they will be doing another entry in the Tomb Raider franchise, which I can't wait for. I've been starved of that. With Uncharted finishing on PlayStation and the Tomb Raider trilogy wrapping up, I've not had my third-person action-adventure story game, Richie. But my only kind of concern for this is, does Crystal Dynamics, are they now spread too thin? And does this mean that there's going to be a knock-on effect for potentially the next Tomb Raider game or Avengers updates? Because now they're partnering with a Microsoft studio to help them with one of their own games in Perfect Dark.
It seems weird, actually, because if Crystal Dynamics, they've already got an ongoing title in Avengers and they're working on a new Tomb Raider game, go and, okay, you're going to help out another studio. I mean, it's a very Square thing to do. We've seen Square do like exclusivity deals and their own franchises with certain platforms. Like Final Fantasy VII is a big one on PlayStation. That's the first one that comes to mind. So it's not. I don't think this is out of the realms of possibility for them going, we'll take your bag of cash and we'll help you out. As for the Initiative, it's a new studio. If this is the first game, maybe they just needed a bit of hand, and they've just been. We'll bring in Crystal Dynamics, and we don't know the extent that Crystal Dynamics are going to be working with them. There might just be a support studio to help them get through a few hurdles or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, I was right.
It's really
just a quick check.
It's one of them. It's hard to know without knowing the extent of the relationship.
Yeah,
because I think it's quite normal. Like if you look at the credits for any game. You're not going to just get the main studio that like everyone talks about. Like in Uncharted, it's probably not just going to have Naughty Dog there. There's going to be a few other minor studios that worked on separate things. So it could just be that, and it might just happen to be that Microsoft have looked and went, you know what, the best people we think to deal with these few nuggets of issues we have are Crystal Dynamics. So let's reach out to them and again, I don't think there's enough information to really go, oh my god, they're in danger. Either like, because I've seen some rumors that saying, "Oh, are Crystal Dynamics in danger? Have they had to take this because they need the cash?" Because of Avengers' objective.
Yeah, they're just
arguably a flop.
Just pimped themselves out to try and recoup some losses, saying like, "Okay, it's guaranteed work. If Microsoft write us a check, then we'll help them." Yeah.
It might be that they might look at it and go, actually, for the amount of work that we need to do on this game, the amount of money you're offering is just, this is too big of a deal to take out, especially when our most recent game hasn't hit where we'd expect it.
Yeah.
It puts a bit more money in the bank, secures the future of the studio, secures the jobs of the people working there, and allows us to focus on our next title. And if the next Tomb Raider is going to be quite a way off. Yeah,
it's a shame we didn't get a Tomb Raider game for the 25th anniversary, quite frankly. But I have checked. The initiative was founded in 2018 to build AAA games for Xbox. So yeah, they haven't put out a game yet. And Perfect Dark is their first entry, which of course is a reboot of the N64 game Perfect Dark, which was made by... It was Rare and the people who made GoldenEye. It was like kind of the spiritual successor to GoldenEye once all the Bond licenses screwed up that franchise. So yeah, but I'm just kind of in a weird place now where I'm thinking, right, so if they've finished off on Avengers, now they're helping out the initiative, and this is Crystal, so that means the other Square studio, Adios Montreal, who did the other Tomb Raider games, they're just about to put out Guardians of the Galaxy. So now my worry is there's no studios who are working on Tomb Raider. Like full potential. Again, I don't know how big these studios are, but...
Well, I'd imagine they have the games go through the cycle of development, so you'll have part of the team will be where it might be like all hands on deck and getting Guardians of the Galaxy finished, and Tomb Raider might be the next big thing in the pipeline where it might be in like early stage of production, so you got a smaller team working and stuff, laying the groundwork, and like once that's out, everyone shifts over.
Yeah. Very true, very true. Yeah. Speaking of shifting over though, Richie, let's start to wrap up the show with some final little update stories. The community blog this week, we didn't get much news from the Stadia team this Tuesday. Nothing on Thursday, in fact, but this week on Stadia dropped, and it gave us an update for Streets of Rage 4. The fight continues in Wood Oak City after the events of Streets of Rage 4. Our heroes wanted to prepare themselves for future threats. With the Mr. X Nightmare add-on content, you'll find 2 new playable characters, a new survival mode with weekly challenges, and new weapons and enemies. Plus, you now have the ability to customize your character to build your own unique fighting style with new moves. Don't forget, there's 0 waiting time for downloads and updates on Stadia. Find it all in the Stadia store, coming soon for $6.99. And the reason I mentioned coming soon, Richie, is because out of this blog, it didn't used to say coming soon. Initially on Tuesday, it said out now, to which loads of people in the community, Dan, head honcho over at Stadia Source, tweeted at them, asking where it was. He couldn't see it in the store. They got back to him. It should be there now. It's not there. Back and forth. Again, ironically enough, back to our Mafia conversation. You can tweet out them about DLC for Streets of Rage and they reply straight away. But you tweet at them many, many times about Mafia, nothing. Where does their level of consumer advocacy lie? Anyway, I digress. The big story, though, really is Streets of Rage 4 has some new DLC. It wasn't out when they announced it. It actually did eventually drop on the store a few days later. I do believe, Richie, it's available now. If you're a big fan of Streets of Rage, it sounds like some nice little quality of life improvements with some new content. We enjoyed Streets of Rage.
The build your customized character stuff, I think, is quite an interesting addition. I think that's arguably more interesting than the actual extra content.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It makes it a bit more of a unique playthrough. We enjoyed our time looking at Streets of Rage 4. The first look is available right now on the channel, Helix Cloud Games. Precursed with youtube.com/. Said that in the wrong order. But yes, as part of the blog as well, they did give us an update on Gates of Oblivion from the Elder Scrolls Online series. October 1st, there will be an end-of-year celebration stream in relation to that. And that was your news from the week, from the blog. Quite threadbare.
I mean, so we've got 2 news items. One of them is DLC, which I think is a minor... DLC is always going to be a minor news item in my mind.
It also wasn't out at the time, they said.
Yeah, and there was problems around it. The other one is an announcement that someone else is doing an announcement.
Yeah. It's almost like, did you see the Nintendo Direct where they announced within the Direct, if you want more news for Animal Crossing, we've got another stream in October. If you want more news for...
They did it with Smash Bros.
That was it, another one for that, yeah.
That's quite a Smash Bros thing, and I think they just did that to address the fact that Smash Bros wasn't going to be in that Direct.
It is just funny.
There's a lot of other stuff in that Direct.
Oh yeah, so it was a crazy show.
Yeah. It's like, we're going to mention Smash Bros. The new characters coming out, we're doing a Direct for that directly.
Yeah.
Itself.
Direct for Direct.
And then everyone who's sat there excited for Smash Bros. Goes, oh, cool, I'll wait for that one.
Yeah. Although, weirdly enough, at the same time, the kind of final story for the week is Roby Studios, of course, who made Blue Fire on the platform, which we should point out, we do have a giveaway code for Blue Fire on Stadia coming up for our charity stream. So if you do want to be in with a chance to win that, head over to just go to giving.com/HadesCloud Games, drop a donation in there, and you'll be in with a chance to win. But over on their Twitter account, they announced the Void of Sorrows will have a release date of September 30th. But the developers did confirm via Twitter at the same time it may release on Stadia a few days later. It includes 2 new areas, 16 new voids, 1 new boss, around 5 additional hours of new gameplay, exclusive tunics and swords, additional lore, expansion, and cutscenes. So, of course, Blue Fire's a nice little indie game, action adventure, very Zelda inspired in both art style and gameplay. And it was a pro game as well. So
it's a game I should probably put a bit more time into, because I played for about an hour or two, and then I was in the middle of playing other stuff, so I never went back to it.
We might get to it on our stream, Richie. We might get to it on a stream. But yeah, interesting enough, left out of the blog post. Even though the blog post was literally made up of one DLC update and an update for an event that they're not hosting. Either way, we'll find about it. But yeah, that's an end to our news stories of the week. As we are, Richie, nearing the end of September, and we say goodbye to summer and the nights get darker. Any predictions for an October pro game?
Oh, God.
Or pro games, of course.
Mass Effect Trilogy.
Any serious
Mafia
predictions?
Trilogy. I don't know. I find it hard to predict like the pro games nowadays,
because there's so
much. Because we get a lot of silence until suddenly the games come out. It seems like most pro games we didn't even know were coming at times. I can maybe see something like Katamari, a pro game. Maybe as Darksiders 2 being pro.
This month.
All right.
Now.
Darksiders 2.
Available now for the last remaining days.
Maybe Chris Tales?
Yeah, possibly. It is getting harder as time goes on, because you've got a bigger pool to pull from.
The one I'd like to see, which I think is possible, is East 9.
Okay. Fairly new one.
It's the newest one, but it's been a couple of months since it came out. I think it came out in July.
Mm-hmm.
I think the East series is a bit more niche anyway. So yeah, I don't think it's going to come, but I could see East.
Yeah.
I think it's potential.
What do I think? Could you imagine Mafia 1, 2, and 3? Could you imagine? Sorry for the delay, folks. Sorry for not speaking to you in over a year. Here's all 3 games for Pro. Fill your boots. Chris specifically, because you have to stream them all. We digress. Pro games, and maybe some of the outright games. We've got a few of those recently.
Yeah. So
maybe Scrat's Nutty Adventure or something like that. We'll see.
I could see something like Judgment.
Actually,
that's potential.
Mafia jokes aside, there's something in the air that's maybe thinking we might see Control. It's a pro game. We said before it was on PlayStation Plus. It was on Game Pass. It's been on every other subscription service. Get it on Stadia Pro. Control. Game of the Year edition. Ultimate, in fact.
Control would be a very good pro addition to Pro. Actually.
It would, and it's got that as we head towards Halloween as well. It's got that kind of eeriness vibe, which I think would be quite befitting. Because didn't last October we got Dead by Daylight. So they're very conscious of the season that we're going into. So
Resident Evil, maybe. If we're going seasonal.
Oh, I think it's a bit early to be giving away Village for free. Because we've already had 7. And we're still waiting on Reverse, the multiplayer that won't be coming until next year and we'll forget about. Either way, folks, that has been it for the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 105. Thank you very much for your continued support. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, do click like, hit that bell, and subscribe so you're kept in the loop with all the content we do here at Sounds of Stadia. And more importantly, our charity stream we've got coming up next Saturday the 2nd of October, kickstarting at 11 a.m. UK time. We'll be playing games all day long. We'll be doing live podcasts, talk shows, segments, new looks, an exciting new tease at our side quest show. We've got a little special feature we want to showcase for you all out there. And we should say as well, this is a celebration of our 2nd anniversary, so thank you to all of you who supported us out there. And a special shout out to all of our members as well, Richie, because we've got over 50 members across our old Patreon channel and our YouTube memberships program. And if you'd like to support us that little bit extra from as little as 99p, you not only get access to new stickers, new badges next to your name in the chat, you also get 6 days early access to our side quest episodes. So if you don't want to hang fire until the Friday, you'll get it on the Sunday, the very same day we record the show, to listen at your own time and pleasure. We should point out, Richie, our charity stream, we've actually folded it in partnership with the rest of the Stadia community as well. I forgot to mention it at the top of the show, but we're actually also teaming up with John Scar over at 4Scar Gaming, blog reviewer for Best Buy over in Canada. He's got a new initiative called Caring in the... Is it in the clouds or from the clouds? I think it might
Caring in the clouds. Hashtag caring in the clouds, I think is what he's went with.
I feel like it might be from, though. Now I'm looking at my notes on screen. I feel like I might have changed it in my own mind. Caring something from the clouds. But essentially, across October, every single weekend, a Stadia community member or multiple members will be streaming games on Stadia to raise money for relevant charities. Of course, we're kicking off the event on 2nd of October for Alzheimer's Society and the Cure for Dementia and Alzheimer's in that much needed search. Head over to justgiving.com/Helix Cloud Games. Donate what you can, and when you donate, you're also put into the hat for a chance to win some game giveaways and potentially a Google Nest Mini as well. So big prizes to be won. Looking forward to it, Richie. We need to do some prep work, get everything set up. We've got promotional content, stuff to go up, but I'm looking forward to it. It's only really once a year we sit down and play games for the whole day and well into the early hours of the night. We'll be getting beers, we'll be getting some food, pizza, Mackie D's, whatever it may be, but I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much for your time and support watching the show this week, folks. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been Hades Cloud Games for Sounds of Stadia, episode number 105. Take care, everyone. Have a great week in gaming. See you soon. Goodbye.